Yeah, you don't need to. I'll keep touch on that.
Cool. All right. Okay, so let's see. Anything that you want to go through before I start diving into stuff from last call or just in general?
I think of course when the system is ready, it would be very nice to see the order processing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that's perhaps from my sake the thing that I'm most eager to see, and how that flow will work with that manual shipment option.
Okay. You mean like an order coming in from Shopify and
Yeah,
then how that the whole entire complete flow?
yeah, and it's yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So today we'll go through order processing, batching, pick, pack, ship, inbound purchase orders, and yeah, just some general, I guess, overview on the orders and making edits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, as things do come up, just shout it out
Yeah.
if you do have a question along the way. So, all right, probably the first place. So we went through pretty much everything here. I guess there's not really anything else that I wanted to go through. There are some, UI things to know, but we can touch on those later. So yeah, what we're gonna do is dive into the purchase orders first of all. So on the purchase order side, you can access these from, well, there's a few different places. So from the main company dashboard, you can go into inbound and you could create one here, or you can actually go to the vendor and start creating one for that vendor. So if we just go into orders, we could start creating an order here. So a few different places that you can start to create those. Another potential place that you might want to just take a look beforehand is, so if we go into the warehouse and we go to inventory, now you may not have this fully set up initially. Let me just make sure there's no one waiting. I guess we're good. So this is the inventory replenishment view. And so what this is showing us is all of the products and where their min and max levels are, how fast the product is selling, where the current inventory level is, and then over time, this chart will start to fill out. So you can see, based on the inventory quantities, how many days you've got on hand, how many units were sold over the last, I think it's like a month or so that it shows. So this is basically, this is some of the data that's actually going into what our purchase order suggestions are going to show. So to begin a purchase order, just go into orders, inbound, and then create. And from here, we'll select our vendor. Now, your vendors have already come in from Shopify. And I think we're doing an import there. I think we've already. Did you guys send us over a list of vendors?
Yeah, we sent. I think Matthias and Marky is about trying to match up the products with our vendors.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if we had actually done that yet, but yeah, so we will plan to import those vendors with the items and then the cost of those items and vendor details. So a couple of things, actually, I guess even before we get started. So on a vendor, one of the options that you do have is to enable it's an email that goes out to your vendor. And once you place a purchase order, the system will send out an email. So this can be very helpful. A lot of our clients will try to use this if they can. And basically all you need to do to set that up is have an email on the vendor and then turn on the email communication preference here. And so that will enable you to send an email to the vendor at the time that you create the purchase order. And I'll show you what this looks like. But they'll be able to click into that email and actually view the purchase order they could get a PDF or just export the purchase order. They could make adjustments to and then send those back to you. So it can certainly streamline a little bit of the workflow. So to place the purchase order, we're just going to go into our inbound, create, get our vendor here. And okay, so you have suggestions up here. This is basically a built-in forecasting tool. You have an external ID field, which this could be your own internal PO number. By default, SKUsavvy is going to generate a purchase order number for you, but this external ID, even though it's an external ID, it could actually be your internal ID, right? It could be the next sequence of PO numbers that you're dealing with. So if you wanted to enter this, and that's going to update in the actual, like if we look at all of our purchase orders, it would just replace the normal SKUsavvy PO number with your internal ID. You have a suggested delivery date or expected delivery date. You have tags. So tags can be used in a variety of ways. Some people use them for payment status. Some people use them for, whether it's whether it's coming in a partial order, whether it's going to be a special order. So a variety of different ways that you can use a tag. To add a new tag, you just type in and then add a comma, and that's going to add the tag to your general catalog there. You can also add metadata here. So any type of data that you wanted to have on this PO, you could add here. And then you also have this notify vendor turned on. And so you could just turn this off for a particular purchase order that you're creating. Otherwise, by default, if that vendor communication is turned on and this notify vendor is turned on, that plan for that vendor is going to get an email that they can click into. Next up down here, so this button, vendor items, right now we have filtered the catalog here that we're showing to just the products that have already been assigned to this vendor here. Whereas if we uncheck vendor items, that's going to show the entire catalog. So all of our products that we have, it will show them. And then if we add a product that was not previously assigned to a vendor, it's going to automatically assign it to that vendor for future purchase orders. So that's, can certainly be a helpful one to toggle off from time to time, especially like if you're adding new products on Shopify, they have not been assigned to a vendor, then you need to go ahead and add them at some point. So this can be a good place to do that. Over here, we are looking at items that are currently we're looking at all items. And then if you check this off, we're only going to be looking at items that are currently in stock, right? So it has greater than 0 inventory. Over here, we're looking at the specific warehouse. So that's not too much of a consideration, but you can narrow it down to a specific warehouse, or you could look across all locations. This setting here is the sales date range that we want to look at mainly. So this is for our for the purchase order suggestions. So if we click on this, we can set a date range. So maybe I say last month. So we can look at a specific date range, and then using that, SKUsavvy is going to calculate the sales velocity of the item. And so you can see down here that some of these items start to have some kind of suggested quantity. Now, even if you're not using min and max values on the item itself, SKUsavvy can still make some kind of suggestion if it picks up on the fact that you have more committed than on hand, let's say, then SKUsavvy will make some sort of suggestion. Or if it realizes that, given the breakdown of on-hand committed and expected inventory values and your sales velocity, that at some point you're going to run out, it will also start to make suggestions there. So I oftentimes recommend turning on these suggestions, and a lot of our clients can get to a point where they really don't have to think too much about how much they should be purchasing. especially if you start to enter some min and max values, right? So like if you know for a particular product that you want to be in the range of 10 to 20 items or 10 to 20 inventory units, then SKUsavvy does a really good job of being able to get your stock levels back up to the maximum where you're trying to get. So if we were to use the suggestions and we're like, yep, okay, these to do is just simply apply the suggestions. And that's going to go through the entire PO and apply all of the suggestions that it currently has for any of the items. We could also add all. So you could add just, let's say, like a quantity of 1 to all of the items for this vendor. You could also do an import. So if you already have a CSV file and you know, okay, this is the, this is our normal purchase order for this client or for this vendor, you could import those. All you really need on the import is SKU and quantity, but the import will accept costs. It will accept the actual item name. It will accept, well, there's actually a bunch of others, like lot number, expiration date, serial numbers. So there is a lot of other fields. I don't think we're dealing with those, but yeah, you can import those. And then finally here is just a way of looking at the data. So there's the flattened list view and there's a group view. The group view just puts all of the individual variants underneath the product. The same, you'll notice this icon in a few different places. So on the product table, on the inventory table, on the orders table, and that just toggles it between a flattened list view and a group view. So now we also have filters. So you could have, and this is kind of a general UI thing now. So you have your search, obviously. You have the product type, which has come over from Shopify. You have product tags. You have the price. You have cost. So you can narrow those all down, and you can also indicate which table columns you want to actually see. So you may not even want to look at, certain inventory or certain columns here, or you can change the columns around. Right? So another thing too, so while I'm looking at it, we also do have an ability to set kind of like a predefined note on the item. Now I'll show you where we enter this, but this is going to be held on the item record for a specific vendor. And so you could find this within a product variant detail under vendors, and then find that vendor, and then you could make a note there. Or you can go to the vendor itself, look at the items, and then add the note to the item directly. So I'll show you how to set this. It can be handy in a variety of places where, if you had to purchase in quantities of 10, or if you purchase over this amount, you get some kind of discount. So there's a lot of places that you could use that. So on a particular item here, when I drop this down, you're going to see the overview of all of your inventory here. So you can always, anywhere that you see these committed and expected, you can tap on those and you can see which orders are actually outstanding for this item. And then also for average sales, you can see sales history over time. So then from here, all we need to do is just start adding some units. So just add our PO, the units. And then down here, we can see that these units have accumulated at the bottom. So this is kind of our order form here. Now you could make another note. This would be a note particular to this single purchase order. You have obviously the item, serial number information, quantity, retail price, and then also cost. Now at this point, we could update the cost. So if you make an update to the cost here and you leave this update unit costs turned on, that is going to actually update the cost for this product on this vendor. The other costs that you could add here are for landed costs. So this could be a freight charge, just any kind of fee, duties, taxes, insurance. And what you can do here is, let's just say that we added some freight, and we are going to choose an allocation method. And so basically what this is doing is it's looking at how much is this? And it is going to allocate the value to each of the items. So like in this case, if an item had, if an item was $10 and there's 4 units, this would just generally put $4 to this item if we only purchase that item. So you can choose which method you want to use to distribute those landed costs and assign any kind of SKU there. So definitely makes it much more accurate from a reporting perspective on how much does a product actually cost and what are your COGS value there. This will also show on an export. If you were to create this purchase order and then get an export, it would show there. And then it will also show within your, it will also show on the, just like when you get this purchase order created. Yeah, go ahead, Simon.
Thank you. So when you do this, by the way, really nice feature. Didn't know that you had this sorted so well. That's a relief. When you do this update and you choose to update the unit cost, so let's say, what will happen to the COGS of the existing stock of the same product? That won't be updated, right? So it would only apply for the incoming stock and the future incoming stock of the actual products when you update the unit costs.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So this is just a current looking forward costs update.
Yeah. Perfect.
The existing unit costs will be at what they were brought in on the last purchase order.
Yeah. And second, and I see you have this margin markup indicator in percentage, which also is a really nice thing. Does that markup calculation include like the taxes, or does it just look at this is the cost, this is the sales revenue excluded costs, and base it on that?
Yeah. So the margin is just that. It is the actual retail price. The percentage above the unit cost.
Yeah, excluded taxes.
Excluding the freight. Now, if you do add some kind of freight charges, here, let me add one.
Now, I'm thinking more about like we have like I'm not sure how it's in the US, but in Norway we have like a flat 25% tax rate when you sell a product that goes to the government, like 25%. So let's say we buy a product, it costs us 100 kroner excluded VAT, and then we sell it for 200 excluded VAT. The markup is 50% or 100.
Okay.
So my question is more like, does it base the selling price or the profit you make excluded the VAT?
Yes, I believe so. Because this is going to factor in here, and so you would put your VAT in here.
Yeah.
As you can see how it just shows up as a line item.
Yeah.
And then so that will factor in and show you like a different margin after those costs have been taken out.
Okay. Perfect.
So you can add multiple, right? You can have multiple lines here for the different costs. And then finally, you have an additional note field. So lots of notes. But you have a note on kind of the entirety of the purchase order. And so this would be something that let's say that you sent this off to the vendor, this note field, all of the note fields, as a matter of fact, would show for that vendor. And they could actually make a note back to you guys so that you would see the note from the vendor directly. So we'll go ahead and create this purchase order. And now we have a purchase order. So we can see this. We can sort by order tag here. If you click on one of the tags, that's going to actually show you all of the orders that have that specific tag. So filter essentially by the tag. A couple of other little things. Any piece of information that you see underlined means that when you click on that, it's going to go to that specific data, right? So if I click on Savvy Vendor, it's going to take me into the vendor profile here. So I'm looking at now the orders for this vendor. If I click on the warehouse, now it's going to take me into my Austin warehouse, which I guess we're already in here, so it didn't take me. But so where you want to actually click is somewhere on the row. So you can click on the status, or basically anywhere that it's like kind of gray, right? That's going to take us into this piece of information here. So we can see tags, we can see the vendor information, we can see, actually I should have added a note here. So we can see any kind of notes. And then as we have our vendor update that, we'll see any notes from them. We could change the destination that we're actually receiving this PO into. And then you can also see here under the 3-dot menu, you can get the logs for this item. You can edit the metadata, view the purchase order directly, and print that out. You can get duplicate this PO, resend the purchase order to your vendor, or export. So when you, like, the difference between this one is this is more like a PDF style, whereas the export here is more or less like a spreadsheet style. So 2 different formats there. Expected delivery, if we needed to change this, you just click on it, and then you can adjust that. If you click on any of the emails here or a phone number, that's going to actually take you into, like, write an email to this vendor. So it will open your email and actually have an email scheduled to go out. Let me jump over and find this email. Okay, so here's that email that goes out. So you are going to have the items with a button that they can click into. You can choose which sending email you want to use for this, and then they can click into this, view what you're trying to purchase from them. Like I said, they can make a note, send that back to you. They can see, preferred delivery date, which destination this is coming into. They could get the PDF directly. They can also make adjustments. So they could make quantities or cost adjustments and send that back to you for confirmation. They could also see, like I said, any kind of notes on this particular item, or if you already had any kind of pending notes on the item. So yeah, this is just a very simplified vendor portal. I think we're going to do a lot more with this in the relatively near future, where they'll actually be able to create a SKUsavvy account. And then the idea is that actually you could have like a kind of a closed loop system. And if they would actually be able to fulfill this order, send it over to you guys, and actually be able to settle the payments as well. So if this is something that you might use with some of your vendors, or if most of them are going to just prefer to have an email or a PDF.
I think we can use this for some of our vendors, yeah, to just send the PO directly from SKUsavvy, but not all, of course.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So now what we can see here is the actual breakdown of costs, and then you can see what that's actually done to our cost. So you have all of those individual unit costs added up here, and then you'll also have those on the export. So now what we're going to do, so you can see here, every order, whether it's inbound, outbound, or transfer order, has this kind of history timeline down here. So to begin checking this in, all we need to do is just tap on check-in. Now there is an option to scan the shipment. That's like if your vendor sends over a landed cost, let's just say, not landed cost, what am I thinking? If your vendor sends over an ASN, advanced shipment notice, and they have like a barcode attached with it, you could scan that barcode and attach it with this PO. And then if you were to go ahead and scan that PO again, it would bring you right to this particular PO. So now what we'll do, go ahead and check this in, mark it as delivered. So when we mark this as delivered, that is going to influence the lead time that we are calculating on this vendor. So mark it as delivered. And now what we're seeing here is obviously where we have this product. So each product here has its, existing bin locations. And then we have the way to, now at this point, all you would need to do is just start scanning. So if you're using hardware scanners, all you do now is just scan the item. There's no need to tap on anything. So if we had scan item and scan bin to allocate, all we need to do is just scan the items and then scan the bin, and you can put it away. So yeah, this 3-dot menu, pretty useful here. So you can, show the layouts, turn on different scan points, enable printing. So one thing that I think still need to do for your account is set up some of these templates for printouts. So at this point, while we're checking this in, whoops, I turned on too many scans. So I'm going to leave these off for now. Also, you have logs. So I should have pointed that one out. So yeah, at this point, all we need to do is come in here, tap on receive, indicate the quantity, and now we're ready to start putting this away. So we can see the existing bin locations that this product is already located in. And then if we go to select a bin, we can see those locations again. So I'll put this away, boom, and now that's been put away. You can also print out the item. So this is going to, let's see. There we go. So this will also print out, according to which template you have, a barcode for the item. And then also what you could do is you could print out all of the items. And so you see this little box here, print for every received quantity. You can print these out, and you can print all of the labels if you wanted to. So depending on, maybe a product comes in and the barcode is kind of messed up, you could print out a new one. If some of your vendors just don't include a barcode, you can print those out as well. But yeah, you do have that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Another option here is to just count everything. So if we go and we count everything, as you can see, that's going to automatically indicate that we've counted everything. And now we can go ahead and allocate what we've actually received here. So you can see these items up here are the ones that we would start to allocate. These are in a position to be allocated, meaning put into the bin. So we can have multiple items be allocated at one time, or you could just do one item at a time. So we go ahead, select our bin, boom, put these away. And now we have received everything. So I actually don't want to double count that. So now we've received everything here. Now, if you didn't receive something, I should have done this before, but if you didn't receive something, or if you over-received something, you can still count, and SKUsavvy will record the discrepancy there. If also we had, let's just say these two came in, but the speaker didn't come in, you could still complete this shipment, and SKUsavvy will automatically create a new shipment. So let me just find this one here. Okay. All right. So yeah, I guess actually this brings up a good point. Here we're looking at, these ones have a custom item. So if we go to our edit contents, or while you were actually creating, there's a button to add a custom item. So you could add just some kind of item. We're not considering custom items part of your actual inventory. Those are just, they're different than the freight or VAT charges. They're kind of just I don't know, it could even be the packaging material. It could be, that could even be a service type of charge, something like that. But you can add those to the product here. While we're on it, you can also make edits. So we can come down here and edit, quantities. We could edit the cost. We could edit, all these things we can edit on the purchase order. So if we go in to this PO, and let's just say I check in some of these. So let's just say, I'll check in this one product. And if we go through and we complete this, SKUsavvy has automatically created a second shipment. So you can create multiple shipments for a given PO and check this in. So that is pretty much the PO process in a nutshell. I can't think of anything else that I would want to show there. So now we're going to jump over into the orders. So this would be like our customer orders. And actually, I'll show you the entire process end to end here. So give me 1 second to pull this up. Where's our store? Sorry, give me 1 second here. I'll pull up our actual store. We'll create an order. Okay, so I'm going to go through here and we'll create an actual order. Okay, cool. You're downstairs. All right, so we've got our new order. Okay, so this is just, order was just placed by our customer. Now, when we go, so that's going to come in basically immediately to SKUsavvy. You'll have to probably, refresh the screen, but make not immediately show up in the table. But there's our order. So this order was just placed. We can see any kind of tags, payment status, anywhere that you see the order tag. So this, in our case, SKUsavvy is like the store that we're using. You can click on this and it's going to open the order, or it could be a product, it could be a customer, it could be a location. It will open up the relevant information in Shopify. So that's super handy in terms of like a navigation perspective. Anywhere that you see that, you can click on it. For you guys, when you go to actually ship, this, if you need to go into the Shopify order, that's going to enable you to do that. So we can see the customer shipping. 3-dot menu is going to have the logs, metadata. We can export this order. We can add a note, internal note here. We can see what was ordered. And then also, very similar to the way that the purchase orders look, we can add an item here. So we could go through and just add new items. We can make edits to the items. And then any of these changes that we make to a Shopify order are going to send back up to Shopify. Or if we made the order edits on Shopify, then those would automatically show up in SKUsavvy here. So yeah, super convenient. You can do order edits in either place. And then also you can reroute an order from one warehouse to another. And so that's going to give us an easy way to reroute orders. By default, SKUsavvy is going to route the order to whichever location it came into. Then we also have shipping costs there. You can see that some of these order tags have now showed up. And then we also have a timeline here. So reload this and there we go. So we added some tags here and then we can see those have come in. All right. One thing too. So if you have made some changes on Shopify and they haven't yet shown up on the order in SKUsavvy, what you can do is come in to the actual shipment and just tap on resync, and that will pull in fresh information from that particular order. Okay, so what we're going to do to fulfill this single order is just tap on fulfill, go to fulfill again. Basically, this is asking you, like, do you want to just do this one order, or do you want to go and create a batch of multiple orders to pick. So in this case, we're just going to do the one order. So I'll tap on fulfill. This is creating the batch for us. And we can see here that we have all of the bin locations that currently hold this product. So all we need to do here, if we're using barcode scans, is just simply walk up, scan the item, and that's going to bring up this screen, indicate the quantity, and boom, pick. So walk up, scan the item, indicate the quantity, and pick. And then we're just going to go through, package these up. We'll get our box size. And then, so what you guys are going to do is for your shipments, you're just going to tap on mark fulfilled. So when we tap on mark fulfilled, we can enter. Now, if you were in Bring, let's say, and you have a tracking number from Bring, you could enter this tracking number here, or you can scan it. So again, if you're using the scanner, you would just scan that fulfillment or that tracking code from Bring, and it will enter the tracking number here, or you can pull up the camera from right here. And that's actually what, for the most, I guess your orders pretty much always are going to be doing this until Ship Engine decides to add those new carrier services from Bring. These are going to be this is going to be the way to add your tracking information.
Quick question on that. So let's say you were not to introduce or to move the tracking number into SKUsavvy. How would that look? Does that mean because I think Shopify sends the order confirmation included the tracking from the Bring app in Shopify. So is it needed to put the tracking into SKUsavvy?
Okay. In that case, so what you're saying is you actually go into the Bring app, fulfill the order there, and that updates back to Shopify.
Yeah, because that sort of has that option to print label and mark as shipped. So it sort of, you can do both things there, or I think we can choose to just create the shipment and then bring the order number over here. So that's just I think we have to test which workflow is the most convenient one, or do we have to do it like that?
So what you should plan to do is to get to this point. So pick the product. So pick the product in SKUsavvy, package it up, then go to Bring and indicate that the order has been shipped.
Yeah.
And then what SKUsavvy does is it aligns the status of this particular order here, because it's already been picked and packed. SKUsavvy can align that, and it will take the stock out, and it will mark this order as fulfilled.
Yeah.
So just get to this point. Actually, you don't even need to select the package size then. You could just get literally just right here, and SKUsavvy can make the alignment of everything at this point.
Okay, now, so let's see, we've done that. So we've marked it as shipped in Shopify. Then what would be the next step when you return to SKUsavvy?
This is just the order is going to update, and it takes, I think we have a 1 minute delay basically. And that's because oftentimes like the status in Shopify can take a little while before it actually like fully processes. So it will take 1 minute, but this order is going to be marked as fulfilled.
Yeah. So you can just, you can trust SKUsavvy to take care of it from here. You can just continue with the next order. You don't have to wait for 1 minute.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you would just, now at this point, we just tap on finish. This is going to bring us back to our order batches, and we could go into a new order batch.
Yeah. Okay.
Which leads us into kind of like the next point here, which is here we have a bunch of open orders. And so oftentimes like the best way really to get the most efficiency with SKUsavvy is to batch orders together and fulfill them kind of all at once. So in this place, what we're doing is we're coming into orders, fulfill, and scroll down. So it's going to bring you here and just scroll down. These are all of your current open orders. So we're just going to tap on batch shipments. So there's a lot of different options here. Now, you could just set a shipment limit, which is basically saying, okay, for any given batch, we're only going to have, in this case, 12 shipments. but you could set this at 5, whatever 100,
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. At this point, you could just go ahead and batch. You don't need to set anything else here. But if you do have, I don't know, maybe you want to, maybe you have order tags that are specific to a sale or something, and you want to just get those out fast. You could select your order tags here.
Yeah.
You can also include and exclude. So you can exclude certain tags. So if you didn't want to, I don't know, maybe each order with a wetsuit, you tagged wetsuit, and you did not want to include those for some reason because you're going to follow up and make sure that it's the right size or whatever it's going to be. You could exclude those tags here as well. So you've got lots of different criteria here. You've got financial status. By default, the ones that you most likely don't want to have are already excluded for you. Order tags, product tags, the stage, so whether it's open, in progress, on hold, canceled, etc. Delivery method. So for you guys, this is, you can most likely ignore this.
Yep.
For the most part, this orders are going to be shipping orders. Shipping methods, again, this is another one that you're most likely going to just ignore. You could do specific SKUs. So if you oftentimes, we have a lot of clients that do big drops, right? They build this drop up, they have this new style, and they come out with it, and finally they drop the style, and it's available to purchase, and they might get hundreds of orders for a specific, within a minute or so, and so they just want to get all of those all of that specific SKU out. They batch it by that SKU.
Okay.
Order sources. This is another one that most likely, I think you're just going to have your one store here, so you could probably ignore that one. Creation date of the order, delivery date. So we do actually look at, there's a special order note attribute for delivery date. That one does need to be kind of set up, but you could also batch by that. And then finally down here, so let's just say that you have 100 open orders and we set the shipment limit at 5. And let's just say all of those shipments are going to be batched. We didn't set any criteria that's going to filter any order out. SKUsavvy is going to create 20 batches of orders, and they will all have 5 shipments in them. Down here, what we could do is we could select multiple people, and SKUsavvy will split up divvy up the workload across each of the employees that we select here. So another thing that we could do is, let's just say that we have a bunch of criteria that we've set up. We could set a new view here. So you can see I have a bunch of saved views. You could use those and create new views, so that basically all you would need to do is come in, tap on a saved filter, and then boom, SKUsavvy will go ahead and automatically batch by that set of criteria. Now, another one that we should go through is tote. Pick the tote.
Can I just a quick question there? Seeing that we have those orders with from our side with these complete diving packages, they do require manual processing on every single order, adding the kits, completing the kits. We're going to use your kitting for the non-sizable or variations stuff, and then we have to do find the right size on the suit and the socks and the gloves and stuff like that. So from my perspective, we have 2 options to use SKUsavvy. We can do option 1 to use Shopify Flow, add a tag to every order coming in that needs manual processing. The tag could be manual processing, and then we set up a filter in SKUsavvy to make sure that those orders are not processed until that tag is removed. Or we can do the option 2, which is to use Shopify Flow to automatically set hold fulfillment until released. Do you have any perspective on which of those 2 workflows that would be the most convenient one to use?
I would say, I would say ideally what you would do is you would have the order tagged as, kit or dive package, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then exclude the tag from the batches.
Yeah.
The reason I would probably provide preference to that method is you can put the order on hold, but then also you need to go back in to remove the hold from the order.
Yeah. So that would be like that. Then the operators wouldn't, when the order is complete with all the products, would save the order and hit release instead of adding another tag that would trigger something in SKUsavvy that, okay, so this has been on hold, now it can ship.
Yeah, I mean that you could also do that. So it really comes down to a personal,
Yeah, so both would work. We can try both. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably worthwhile to try both, see which is gonna, what your staff is most likely going to be familiar with and be able to use most effectively. But yeah, either method should work just fine.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I just was going through pick to tote, which pick to tote is a method of fulfilling where, like, after you've actually picked a product, it's going to tell you which tote to put it into.
What's a
so
tote?
You can imagine something. Hold on, I'll pull this up.
I don't know what a tote is, so you have to tell me, or I have to translate it.
Yeah, I'll show you here. So, okay, so let's just use this as an example. Each of these would be a tote, so we would call this like a pick cart.
Okay. Yeah.
And so after, like, each of these totes, 1 tote, 2 tote, 3 tote, each of these would be corresponds with a single order. And so after you pick product, SKUsavvy might say, okay, put 2 in tote 1, put 3 in tote 3, put 5 in tote 6, and it, so on. And so by the time we get done picking all these, you can assume that, in this case, we have 12 orders to pick. After we get done picking these, we drive over to a fulfillment station. That fulfillment station, all they need to do is scan the tote, and they just start fulfilling that order. It will bring up the order exactly, in the fulfillment screen, and they would just start going through packing it up. Then they would go over to bring, they would print out the shipping label, and everything gets aligned. So that's the pick to tote method. Is that something similar to how you're doing it now, or how does your current process?
We don't use this, but it's an interesting approach to having that cart there. We just pick all the products on a batch into one pile, and then they are organized into the individual orders when you return to the packing station.
Okay, yeah. So that kind of eliminates the, like you have, in your case, you almost have like 2 miniature picks, right? You have the main pick, and then you have like a separate pick to actually put those into the right kind of the right order.
Yeah.
This kind of eliminates that step, because as you're picking, you're actually also aligning. So it certainly can be handy to use the pick to tote method. And I'll go through an example here. So actually what we'll do is we'll just make this into a pick to tote, because there's not much different between that. Okay, so we've got our criteria. We're happy with it. Now what we're going to do is batch these up, and boom. Okay, so we've got our pick to tote. I guess there was only 5 orders, so it only created 1 batch. Normally, it would go through all of the orders, and it would create batches for as many orders as match. So now what we're going to do is come into pick to tote, and for the very first time that you would ever use pick to tote, you would come over into the tote contents, and here you could print out all of your totes, right? So, or you could print out an individual tote. All of the tote barcodes are always unique. So you only need to print these out once, and then they can be reused. Now, if you had multiple carts, then you would just create multiple batches, and then as you kind of have more and more totes that you need to print, you're just going to print those out, right? So as you create a new batch, there's some more totes. You just print out however many times you need to, and eventually you'll get to a point where you don't need to print any more totes out, and you just use that tote barcode. Now what we're going to do, very similar process. We just start walking through, scan the item, and then we can scan it directly to the tote, or we can just tap on the screen. So you can see here, this is indicating like which tote on the cart that we're going to actually put this into. So we just boom, tap this in, go to our next product, pick, allocate that, next product. So you can kind of get the idea here. If a product goes across multiple totes, it's just kind of indicating, you know, which totes we actually need to put this to.
Yep.
And this is bringing us through. I forgot to show you, but in the batch settings here, so we have a lot of useful information, different settings that we can turn on. Warehouse layout, you can choose to have the warehouse layout in 2D. You can choose the number of tote columns, right? So this can actually kind of match the exact cart that you might be using. We can enable weight entry during the pack, which you guys are really concerned with. One scan is one pack. Show tote preview on the shipment pack screen. Yeah, our labels, that's not going to be something. Okay, so one thing that is kind of neat here is go over to debug routing. And you can see that the route, like the route that SKUsavvy is actually generating for you. So you can see here, we're starting here and we're ending here. So we can always, I'll show you how to do that, but you can set, I did show you yesterday, but you can set a starting and ending point on the map. And from here, it's taking us boom, 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 boom. So it's kind of working us around in a relative circular pattern, and then it's coming back to the start. So you can check that out. Carriers, not something that we're really worried about here. This batch barcode, you could always print this out, and it would correspond with this batch. So if you're kind of like, you know, you started picking, and let's just say you have a whole bunch of orders in this batch, that you could print that out and then hand it off to someone, or just leave it with the cart or something, and then they will be able to scan it and basically pick up right where you left off. So we'll continue scanning these items here, putting them away into the tote, and so we can see. Okay, so we can see now the tote contents. So we can see everything that we've gotten and where it is in the totes. Okay, forgot. This is a bigger batch than I was going for here. Okay, so now we've got a bunch of tote contents. We can see everything. Each one of these is one order. Now at this point, we could just tap into tote one, and now we're brought into, this is one order in this batch. So here we just, you know, same process as before, package the items. Now at this point, you guys go to bring and fulfill this order. And then we just carry on to the next one. Boom, package this up. And then you guys are going into bring, shipping off the order. Now again, up in the order information, for any Shopify order, you're going to have a little tag that is going to bring you directly to that order in Shopify. So yeah, so that, just trying to think if there's anything I might have left off there. Well, yeah, any questions on the fulfillment process? Actually, one more thing I'll show is, so this icon here, bulk actions. For all of the shipments, you can set, yeah, I guess this isn't really going to apply to you guys. Okay, I guess you can mostly forget about this. But yeah, this enables you to kind of set up a bunch of actions in bulk here, right? Setting which box sizes are going to apply, what their weight is going to be. So like if you had 100 orders and they were all the exact same, this would give you a way to kind of bulk fulfill a bunch of those orders at one time. But you guys are going to bring, so that's not going to apply here. But what you could do is just go through the batches, get them all into that packed state, and then go over to bring and fulfill, all of the orders that you have. So that would be, I think, probably the most efficient, is to batch up a whole bunch of orders and then look, we started at this order number, we ended at this order number, go into bring and just go, one by one through them. So first of all, you want to make sure that you've picked the product in SKUsavvy and packed it, and then go bring, and you could do a whole bunch of them at one time. So yeah. Okay, any questions on that process?
For me, it looks good, but I'm not the warehouse guy, so I think
Okay.
it looks like it's gonna be a nice thing to work in. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. Cool. Okay, so you have the recording of this. I'm gonna stop there because I'm gonna actually jump to another call here right at 9.
Yep.
Central. So yeah, I guess at this point, what I would maybe suggest is possibly even just putting in like a test product, a test vendor, and you could start kind of creating some orders, creating purchase orders, and just to start getting the flow of it. That's certainly an option. So you could just come into your products, create a product directly in SKUsavvy, and that way it's not really part of your, or you could create it on Shopify. Either that's totally fine as well. You could just have like a test product that's not really part of the normal product catalog. You don't show it to any channels or anything. And then you could create test orders. So you also do have a way to put SKUsavvy into what we call test mode. And so if you do a test order in Shopify, you can have that test order show up in SKUsavvy and go through the full, the pick, pack, ship process
Okay.
without actually affecting your live Shopify store.
Just quickly on that, because in our store I don't see any orders coming in. I think we have test mode enabled, but what we would need to do in Shopify to make that happen?
Yeah, so typically that's you'd actually have like a your test gateway would be set up.
Okay.
So let me do this. I'll send you over. I know Shopify, there's a guide that we typically send out that will show you like how to do those test orders.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the interim, feel free to just add like a test product, add a test vendor.
Yeah.
And then you'd be able to start creating those purchase orders for that test product.
Perfect. Thank you.
And the other thing too is if you wanted to use some of the live data, that's fine. I mean, we can always just go through and either just cancel the order or we can just delete them after. So that's totally fine too.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So I guess, we'll leave it there for now, and then, we can certainly have another training next week. And then as questions come up, by all means, just send them over in the meantime, and we'll keep working.
Perfect. Thank you. And perhaps before inventory counting should be something we look into quite soon, because that's going to happen very quickly after we go live. So that just a comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1 or 2 more training sessions, we should be pretty well through the system, and then and then we can go from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good evening. Okay.
Likewise. Bye bye.
Bye bye.